Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Doctor's In. I am your doctor, C.G. Weinberg, and today we're talking about another book, Cicero, and his book on duties. You can probably find this one in lots of different variations and editions. This Penguin Classic has 4 of his major works in it. On duties is one of them included, and that's the one we're talking about today. Now, this book is actually written last year of his life, right around 44 BC. So again, Cicero was killed by Emperor Augustus because Cicero did not like Mark Antony. And Mark Antony was fighting Caesar Augustus, and they wanted peace. And Mark Antony said, "Great, I'll stop fighting you as long as you kill Cicero." So Augustus is like, "Sure, no problem, done." So peace happened, killed Cicero. Interestingly, what would Cicero have said to that if Augustus would have actually been applying his Stoic philosophy? That is a question we'll be answering today. So, writing into his son Scipio, saying, "Hey, this is how you should live your life." Now, at the very beginning, chapter 2 of his book, of his work, he gives 3 simple rules to live by. 3 questions to ask, really. First, if you're faced with this decision, is it morally right or morally wrong? Good place to start. Next, is this thing advantageous or disadvantageous? And finally, if apparent right and apparent advantage clash, what is to be the basis for the choice between them? So, if something is morally right but not advantageous, how do you decide what to do? I think that's really the crux of the matter. I think most people have an idea of what's right, and I think most people have an idea of is it good for them? But then Cicero is dealing with here on duty. What is the right thing to do from there? And I think that's where the very American idea of duty comes from, which it has tumbled through a lot of different philosophers through history to what we have today. Which now duty today is, unless you've been reading philosophers, you have no idea what duty is anymore. It's pretty pathetic and bad. Our current society would say that it is the duty, the right of everyone to be educated or medically healed and whatnot. And the question would then be asked, great, who is supposed to do it? And you then say, somebody but me. Well, where's your part of the duty? What are you supposed to do with this? You can't force someone else to do something, or you shouldn't be able to, otherwise it's slavery. So then where does it come in? What is your role as an individual? So what can I do as an individual? If it's my duty to help, well, do I have to acquire the skill set to do a particular job, to do this type of help? So I'm a teacher. Is it my job to educate the student in front of me, the student down the road, the student in the country? Well, maybe. But maybe that's why I'm doing all this, is because I feel it's my duty to educate the world in great books. I don't think it's actually my duty to. I just think it's my gift to humanity, so to speak. If I could even reach humanity. But I think I have things I've learned some things that I think would be good for people to learn, that people are not going out and reading themselves. So I'm putting it in a form that maybe they'll consume. I like books. I prefer the written word. But if video appeals to you, here you go. You can consume great books in bite form. These are literal morsels that you should be reading otherwise. But if you won't read it, here you go. Here's your digest. But where does duty extend to? I've now gotten severely off topic, but that is how it applies to Americans in general. Is what really is your duty to do something? How do you figure out what you should be doing as an individual? And that is what Stoic philosophy is all about. What should you be doing? Um, so Cicero gives a really good case study in here that I'll read to you after I have a drink of coffee this time. I have found that I really enjoy Black Rifle Coffee Company's coffee. I've been trying lots of different types, and I think I have now settled that it is my favorite. But here's some Cicero for you, and I think it's quite good. So I'm going to read you a few paragraphs of him, and we'll break down some of the discussion. So this is the start of chapter 4, difficult moral decisions. I will try and pronounce these Greek names or Roman names correctly. I'll probably not do them justice, but we'll go with it. So let us consider possible objections. Number 1, suppose a man of great wisdom was starving to death. Would he not be justified in taking food belonging to someone who was completely useless? Number 2, suppose an honest man had the chance to steal the clothes of a cruel and inhumane tyrant like Phalaris, or whatever tyrant you want to pick out, and needed them to avoid freezing to death. Should he not do so? These questions are very easy to answer, for to rob even a completely useless man for your own advantage is an unnatural, inhumane action. If, however, your qualities were such that, provided you stay alive, you could render great services to your country and to mankind, then there would be nothing blameworthy in taking something from another person for that reason. But apart from such cases, every man must bear his own misfortune rather than remedy them by damaging someone else. The possible exception I have quoted does not mean that stealing and covetousness in general are any less unnatural than illness, want, or the rest. The point is rather that neglect of the common interest is unnatural, because it is unjust, and that nature's law promotes and coincides with the common interest, and therefore that this law must surely ordain that the means of subsistence may, if necessary, be transferred from the feeble, useless person to the wise, honest, brave man whose death would be a grave loss to society. But in that case, the wise man must guard against any excessive self-regarding conceit, since that would only lead to a wrongful course of action. If he avoids these pitfalls, he will be doing his duty, working for the interests of his fellow man, and I repeat yet again, of the human community. So basically, if you think you're worth enough, going to do more good than someone else, you can do a little bit of wrong. That is how you would justify when something that is morally right and advantageous clash. So the real question comes down to, is anyone worthy of that? Is anyone a good enough person, will do enough good to justify stealing from someone who can't defend themselves? A useless man. So, to extrapolate this out, taking the most poor and defenseless person we can talk about, possibly an unborn child. So, could you take the life of an unborn child if you are going to save humanity by doing so? Well, Cicero would say yes. My pushback would be, how do you know the unborn child won't save humanity better? And you have to actually save society. So if you are not going to save society, Cicero would say that it is unjust and unmoral to do so. So you are not to take the life of an unborn child or even take the food off their plate if you are not going to save the world. Otherwise, if you're on equal status, you must obey what is morally right, which is to not kill or steal. So he then says the next page over, the Stoic ideal is to live consistently with nature. So he then actually doesn't say really much of anything on what being consistent with nature actually means. And I think that's actually on purpose. Cicero lived at a time now of the Caesars who were morally deplorable men. And Cicero knew that. And he was pretty sure that everyone else knew that too. He knew that the Caesars were doing things that were contrary to nature. And he would also say that everyone knows what's contrary to nature. So he didn't feel like explaining it because it's what was born into a person. The ideas of right and wrong to Cicero were embedded within humanity. Now, this also plays very well with Romans 1 in the Bible. Ironically, that was written roughly about 100 years later. Because you take the 40 and then you add the 60, it's about 100 years later. And I would actually say that the Apostle Paul, did have plenty of dealings with Stoic philosophy. He probably actually would have read Cicero because he was trained in the synagogue under Gamaliel. He touted his education. I want to say it's in 2 Corinthians, but I might be wrong. When he talks about him going up to being basically a super apostle. He was a super Pharisee, taught under Gamaliel. So his education was as good as a Jew could get, and he was a Roman citizen. So there's a decent possibility that he actually read the writings of Cicero. So it was common teaching at that point that morality was part of mankind. And I mean, yeah, more on that later. So Cicero doesn't explain what is consistent with nature at all in this book because he would assume that you know what it is. Ironically, this day and age, people are now thinking it's normal to live like the Caesars did back then. So the whole trans LGBTQ alphabet, yada yada. They think that is actually part of nature. They also think we evolved from monkeys, so there's that. Cicero believed that we were descendants of the gods, so there's that. That Zeus formed man and breathed life into him. So he thought we were divinely created. Most of mankind today think that we are slime created. So, I mean, our origin story is vastly different. I understand that. And because of that, I think we get our moralities wrong. So Cicero understood that the creation of the divine must act like their creator. As a Christian would also say, we are to mimic our creator as well. Whereas if you take the standard upbringing of the public school system today, you will see that they think we are animals and thus we act like them, which is why we now have cats in our schools. They're humans, but they identify as cats. It is just ridiculous. The whole thing, garbage. But that is what you get when you devoid yourself of all kinds of religion. So the Stoics didn't explain it because they figured everyone knew it. And then a few pages later, he gets into one more fun story. Is the Ring of Gyges. The Ring of Gyges is an old myth passed down from the Greeks. So in Plato's Republic, he also talks about the Ring of Gyges. You get 2 whole pages on it. In this one, you get, I think, 3 whole pages on it. And it is the inspiration that gave Tolkien the One Ring to rule them all. So when Frodo puts the One Ring on and he becomes invisible, guess what? Tolkien then to come up with that. It's an old Greek myth called the Ring of Gyges. Basically, it was the fact that some guy was grave digging, which was actually wrong for them to do. In their culture, digging a grave, digging a hole, grave digging, trying to rob a guy. Gets into a tomb, sees this rich guy, has a gold ring on. You know what? It looks nice. I'm going to take it. Takes it, puts it on, and realizes that when he twists it, it goes invisible. And the question is, if you're invisible and can get away with anything, is it morally all right? Now, Plato and Cicero both say no. Plato's actually using it as a test case that if people are given that kind of power, they will abuse it. Cicero says, abuse it or not, I don't care. It's wrong for them to do it. So Cicero is judging the people. Like, it is wrong to, if you have power, it is wrong for you to abuse it. So Stoic doesn't matter if ands or buts. I'm going to just cut you straight. If you got the power, you got to use it right. And that is the whole point of Cicero using the myth of the ring of Gyges, is the fact that if you have the ability to do something, you must use it correctly. Now, shifting off of the book on duties of Cicero, there is an interesting thing coming about today. And that is actually the rise of Stoicism today. Why is Stoicism coming back? I ran into some YouTube videos of Ryan Holiday. I'll post his page below. He's way bigger than me. He's been going a long time. He is making lots of money doing what he's doing. So good on him for that. The Daily Stoic. I follow him on Instagram. I really enjoy a lot of what he says. He's going through Cicero, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and the E guy, which I think is Epictetus. But there's so many E guys' names, I'm not positive that's the Stoic one, but I think it's the Stoic. Too many Stoic, too many Greek dudes that start with E. I do get confused. Pretty sure the Stoic is Epictetus. Sadly, I have read the book, and I'm now blinking on the name. That's what happens when you read too many guys together. But he is often quoting these Stoic philosophers. He's written a few different books on Stoic philosophy, and basically just as a manual on how to live your life today. If you want to learn more about that, I suggest you go watch some of his stuff. It's very simplistic. It's very accessible. He does a good job representing the Stoic philosophy and ideals. But why is it on the rise? Why does why does Ryan Holiday have such a platform that he has? I think there's a few different reasons behind it. Stoic philosophy is incredibly simplistic. And if you're honest with yourself, anyone can see the good. So, just looking at Cicero. Is it morally right? Yes or no? Is it advantageous? Yes or no? If it's morally right and advantageous, great, do it. If it's morally wrong, don't do it. If it's morally wrong and advantageous and you could save the world, you might be able to make an exception. If it's disadvantageous, don't do it. So it's a pretty simple philosophy. Look at the morals, and a good Stoic will say that morals are bound by nature. So looking back, go look at anyone before really Rousseau. The noble savage is just complete and utter nonsense. So anything before Rousseau will get you a good basis on what natural morality is. Look at the Bible. Look at Proverbs. You can even look at the Epicureans and their hedonistic view on life, and they're going to have a better idea on what is morally right than most people do today, which is really sad because their whole thing is the worship of pleasure. And they understood that there's a natural morality that bound human pleasure. Where we are today is just so ridiculous. It's incredible. But Stoic philosophy is incredibly simplistic. Anyone can see the good. it's just really common sense, which we've lost today. Um, Something else that's super helpful with it is it actually gives a real place for emotions and actions, to make them both useful. Uh, so, like, if something bad is going on and you can't do anything about it, so your action is taken away, then all you are in charge of is your emotional response to it. So be the boss of your emotions. That is like aha moment to so many people today. Like, I don't know how to deal with my emotions. Great. You can't do anything about it, the situation. So just control your emotions. You're in charge of that. Be in charge of what you can be in charge of. That is massively helpful for like anyone who has a toddler, which is most adults today. I mean, these are the conversations I'm having with my 4 and 6-year-old is, can you do something here? If yes, do it. If no, control your response to it. That rhymed. Didn't mean to do that. There you go. The other really handy part about Stoicism is it's not personal and it's not religious. This fits into any religious system. So it's an amoral, or no, an a-religious thing. So an atheist can be a Stoic, a Christian can be a Stoic, Buddhist, Catholic, it can be a Stoic. So it kind of levels the playing field when it comes to morality and what to do with life. So that is actually a super helpful thing when you're dealing with people from different ideologies and cultures, is if you can agree on a system of how you're going to at least deal with each other. That is a massively helpful thing. And Stoic philosophy actually could be a bridge that anyone can use to bind things together. So that is helpful. Now, to tie it back in to that point there, along with why a Christian should read it, people like Ben Franklin didn't just appear. So Ben Franklin, one of our founding fathers of our great country of America, was actually the most openly antagonistic to Christianity, which, I mean, he's definitely not an atheist. I would say I think he's a deist. I read a book about were the founding fathers Christian. He is the most unchristian of the lot. Ironically, he actually took the Bible and just cut out the verses he didn't like in it and said, "Here you go." So he saw the value of the Bible. But incredibly intelligent man, incredibly moral, was very foundational for what our country is today and what it would become. And he would fit within the Stoics. So he didn't just come about, he didn't pop out of nowhere. He came from a long line of this philosophy. So him and Cicero would have gotten along. He would have also been going against Mark Antony, because he wouldn't want a king like Mark Antony. He would want a king much better than Mark Antony, which is why they rebelled from Parliament, because they had no deal with Parliament. That is why the Declaration of Independence appealed to the king, is because the king wasn't doing his job. So I mean, they're 1,800 years apart, and they have very similar philosophies. And he got along great with all the really strong Christians that were the other founding fathers, because they could work together. They had the same kind of framework. They had the same kind of morality. They had different reasons behind the morality, but they had the same morality, which is helpful when you're trying to make a government. So it is actually really helpful for a Christian to read books like Cicero in order to understand history, like Ben Franklin, because it actually gives you a really good framework to understand the unbeliever, to understand people in society. If you run into an unbeliever that rejects the morality of nature, well, you have a long way to get them to actually coincide with anything that actually makes sense. So you have to go further back than Cicero and be like, well, do you actually want to be an animal? Because what you're arguing for is an animalistic society, and I don't believe we are animals. Now, if you think we are animals, like so, talking to the atheists, if we are merely animals, then why does your opinion matter? If you're a monkey and I'm a cow, why do you get to tell me what I have to do? Now, if you're a monkey and I'm a lion, I'm just going to eat you. If you're a monkey and I'm a human, I'm just going to capture you and put a hat on you and make you parade around because you can talk. Talking monkey, I could probably make money off of that. So, if you want to be an animal, I can treat you like an animal. But I prefer to treat you that you're a human and made in the image of God. And if that's the case, then we have some things we got to figure out because you are not living up to your end of the deal of being created in the image of God. So it gives you this framework that you can talk to people about because how do they want to be perceived? As an animal or something else? But also, Cicero's good to read because it actually is a lot like Proverbs. So I mean, it's handy that there's 31 chapters in Proverbs, one for each day of the month if you want to read them each day. All young men should do that for their growing up years. It is massively helpful for you. Yeah, when you first start out, just read Proverbs a day. That is a great Bible reading schedule for young people. So Proverbs is written before Cicero, in case you need that history point if you don't know that. Well, actually, there's plenty of scholars that would disagree with that because it wasn't written down yet. But they're just wrong anyway, so whatever. We don't have any manuscripts dated that beyond the time of Cicero. Actually, that might not be true. I don't remember when the Dead Sea Scrolls were actually dated to being written. So that was the book of Isaiah, not Proverbs, so whatever. But it was written way beforehand, so Bible wins. But it is very, very similar. And it is just wisdom. Like, steal the things from them that they got right. They're helpful ways to think. They're helpful ways to talk through things and think through things. They're good strategies. So I would encourage you all to go and pick up the book is called On Duties by Cicero. Read through it, talk through it. Look at where he's right, look at where he's wrong. Look at how you can use it. Analyze it from the unbeliever's perspective. How can they think about these things? And look to you and build a bridge to actually have some common ground to talk. That is where Cicero is massively helpful. So yes, On Duties, get a copy. You can probably find a free PDF online because it is so old. Yeah, and I haven't actually found a bad translation, so I'll just go with it. But yeah, all that to say, if you like what I said, give a like. If you have book recommendations, give me one. So far, I have yet to have anyone give me a book recommendation. If you want to hear me talk about a book you like, let me know. If you like this, subscribe so you can know when I post something else. If you think this would encourage someone, or you think someone's son or child or person needs to be encouraged to read a book like Cicero, share this with them. Send it to them. Help promote my channel. Help me out. But with all that, I bid thee good day, and the doctor is out.